My precious child, I am Archangel Michael, and I stand before you today with a divine mandate that cannot be delayed even one more hour. Heaven has been preparing this exact moment, this precise intersection of your spirit and these words, for longer than you could possibly imagine. Before you consider turning away, listen carefully, because buried near the close of this message is the complete answer to the question that has been circling your mind through restless nights and heavy mornings. That answer was sealed in heaven's vault. And today is the day the seal breaks open. There is a reason your fingers did not scroll past this. There is a reason your heart slowed down the moment these words began to reach your ears. This was not a random encounter, not a coincidence, and certainly not luck. The Almighty positioned this message directly in your path because something extraordinary is about to shift in your spiritual atmosphere. I am not speaking in metaphors. I am speaking about a literal transformation that has already begun moving through the corridors of heaven on your behalf, and it is heading straight toward your doorstep. Stay with me. Do not leave, because what you are about to hear will redefine the way you understand everything you have endured. Every tear, every sleepless night, every whispered prayer that seemed to vanish into silence. I am about to show you exactly where all of it went and what it has been building toward. The revelation near the end of this message is for those who stay, those who have the courage to hear what heaven has reserved for their ears alone. My beloved child, I have been watching you, not from a distance, not casually, but with the full attention of heaven's gaze fixed upon every single moment of your existence. You have carried burdens that would have crushed most spirits 10 times over. You have navigated storms so violent that even the angels paused to witness your determination. And through it all, through every crack in your armor and every bruise on your heart, you kept moving forward. That is not ordinary strength. That is divine fortitude planted deep within your bones by the hand of God Himself. There were seasons when you woke up each morning with a weight pressing against your chest so heavy that simply breathing felt like an act of war. You dragged yourself through hours that stretched into eternities, carrying responsibilities that no one around you fully recognized. People saw your calm exterior and assumed you were fine. They saw your silence and mistook it for peace. But I saw what was really happening beneath that surface. I saw the fractures running through your resolve. I saw the moments when you locked yourself away and wept until your body had nothing left to give. I witnessed every single one of those private battles, and I recorded each one as a victory in heaven's permanent record. If this truth is stirring something deep inside your spirit right now, if you feel the weight of recognition settling over your heart, then pause for just a moment and type Amen in the comments below. Let that single word become your declaration that heaven's witness has reached your ears today. Type it boldly, because your agreement with this truth unlocks something powerful in the spiritual realm. Do you understand what I'm telling you today? The struggles that you believed went unnoticed, the sacrifices that nobody applauded, the nights you spent on your knees begging for relief while the world slept peacefully around you. None of it was invisible to me. I counted every tear that fell from your eyes. I measured the exact weight of every burden you shouldered. I felt the precise sting of every wound that pierced your spirit. And I am here today to tell you that heaven has kept a perfect accounting of everything you have survived. My child, the world has a cruel habit of measuring strength by what it can observe on the surface. People celebrate the loud victories, the visible triumphs, the achievements that come with applause and recognition. But I measure strength differently. I look at the woman who held her family together while her own world was falling apart. I look at the man who continued to pray when every circumstance screamed that prayer was pointless. I look at the person who chose to believe in my goodness, even when their life offered zero evidence to support that belief. That is the strength that moves heaven. That is the kind of faith that makes demons tremble and angels rejoice. You fought battles that nobody else could see. You wrestled with doubts so overwhelming they nearly swallowed your faith whole. You endured rejection from people you trusted with the most vulnerable parts of yourself. You suffered through seasons of silence when it felt like every prayer you offered bounced off a ceiling of brass and fell back at your feet unanswered. My precious child, I was present during every one of those moments. When you thought heaven had closed its gates against your cries, I was standing right beside you, closer than the breath in your lungs, recording every whisper of your heart. The enemy tried desperately to convince you that your suffering was proof of abandonment. He planted that thought in your mind over and over again, hoping that if he repeated the lie enough times, you would eventually accept it as truth. He whispered that God had moved on to someone more deserving. He suggested that your prayers were falling on deaf ears. He told you that the silence meant you were forgotten, overlooked, discarded. But hear me clearly today. Every single word of that was a calculated deception, designed to steal your hope before your breakthrough could arrive. My child, I want you to understand something critical about the season you just survived. You did not merely endure it. You were not simply hanging on by a thread while everything crumbled around you. From heaven's perspective, you were being forged. Every difficulty was a hammer blow on the anvil of your destiny. Every tear was a tempering agent, making your spirit harder and more resilient than it was before. The fire you walked through was never designed to destroy you. It was designed to remove everything that was not supposed to travel with you into your next season. My beloved child, I need to speak to you now about the wounds that cut the deepest, the ones inflicted not by strangers but by the very people you trusted with your heart. I know about the betrayal. I watched it happen in real time. I saw the moment when someone you loved, someone you had opened yourself up to completely, turned their back on you as though your loyalty meant nothing. I saw the shock register on your face. I felt the exact instant when your heart cracked open, and a kind of cold you had never known before rushed in to fill the empty space. You replayed that moment 1,000 times in your mind. You searched for clues you might have missed. You asked yourself what you did wrong. What flaw in your character made them decide you were not worth staying for? You carried that question like a stone in your chest for months, maybe years. Some nights the weight of it pressed so heavily against your ribs that you wondered if your heart would simply stop beating from the sheer exhaustion of carrying that much pain. But hear me today, my child. Their departure was never a judgment on your worth. It was a divine separation orchestrated by the same hand that is now rebuilding your life from the ground up. If this message is already reaching a place inside your spirit that has felt untouched for far too long, then press that like button right now. Not as a routine gesture, but as a sacred agreement between your heart and the one who sent these words directly to you today. Your response carries weight in the spiritual realm. I allowed those people to walk away not because you deserve to be abandoned, but because their presence in your life had become an obstacle to the blueprint I was constructing for your future. Some connections that feel like blessings are actually anchors. Some relationships that seem necessary are actually barriers disguised in familiar skin. The people who left you were removed because they could not go where I am taking you. Their exit was not your failure. It was my surgical precision, clearing the path for what comes next. Now write these words as your second declaration of truth today. Type them boldly in the comments. My pain was never wasted. Every wound became a doorway. Let that declaration become a permanent record of your refusal to let the enemy define your story by its most painful chapter. Type it now, and feel the chains of that old narrative begin to loosen around your spirit. My child, I also remember the seasons of confusion, those long stretches of time when nothing in your life made any sense at all. You had been faithful. You had done everything you knew to do. You had prayed with sincerity, worshipped with devotion, served others with a willing heart, and yet the results did not match the effort. Doors you expected to open remained sealed shut. Opportunities you believed were divinely orchestrated evaporated before your eyes. Plans you had laid with careful precision crumbled like dry sand the moment you tried to build upon them. You asked me why so many times that the word itself became a prayer. Why this detour? Why this delay? Why this dead end when you were so certain you had heard my voice directing you down this particular road? The confusion was so thick at times that you could barely distinguish my voice from the noise of your own desperate thoughts. You questioned your own discernment. You wondered if you had imagined the promises you once held so tightly. You feared that perhaps you had wandered so far off course that there was no way back to the path I had originally set for you. But I am telling you with absolute authority today, you were never off course. Not for a single moment. The confusion you experienced was not a sign of my absence. It was actually one of the most intensive phases of your training. I was teaching your spirit to rely on trust rather than understanding. I was breaking your dependence on visible evidence so that your faith could operate in dimensions that human logic cannot access. Every unanswered question was strengthening a muscle in your spirit that you will desperately need in the season that is now opening before you. There were also the dark valleys of hopelessness. I remember them vividly because I walked through every single one of them at your side. Those mornings when your body felt so heavy with despair that lifting your head from the pillow seemed like an impossible task. Those afternoons when you sat in a room full of people but felt utterly alone, as though a pane of invisible glass separated you from every other human being on the planet. Those evenings when the future looked like nothing more than an endless repetition of the same pain, the same struggle, the same unanswered prayers stretching out before you like a road that leads nowhere. You were terrified during those times, not of any specific threat, but of the possibility that your life might never change, that the heaviness might never lift, that the joy you once knew might never return. You questioned whether God had grown tired of hearing the same requests from your lips. You feared that your problems had finally exceeded even heaven's patience. You whispered prayers through clenched teeth, not because your faith was strong, but because letting go completely felt even more terrifying than holding on. The weight you carried through those years of darkness was not wasted on barren ground. Every ounce of pressure that life poured onto your shoulders was compressing something valuable deep within the bedrock of your character, like a diamond formed only under conditions that would shatter weaker materials. Your spirit was being refined into something rare, something permanent, something that carries a brilliance visible only to eyes that understand what suffering produces in the hearts of the faithful. Now type this declaration boldly in the comments below, and let it become your permanent record of agreement with heaven. I receive what heaven has prepared for me. Type it now. Plant that flag in the spiritual realm, and feel the chains of the old narrative begin to loosen around your spirit. I receive what heaven has prepared for me. My child, the loneliness was perhaps the cruelest test of all, because human beings were created for connection, for fellowship, for the warmth of being truly known by another person. And when that warmth is stripped away, when you find yourself standing in the middle of a crowd yet feeling as though not a single soul on earth truly sees you, the isolation can become so intense that it feels like a physical wound carved into the center of your being. You smiled when people expected you to smile. You answered, "I am fine," when the truth was anything but fine. You performed normalcy like an actor on a stage, delivering your lines with practiced precision, while behind the curtain your heart was hemorrhaging from wounds that nobody bothered to examine. You convinced yourself that reaching out would be a burden, that asking for help would be an imposition, that your struggles were somehow less important than everyone else's. So you carried the full weight alone, and the loneliness grew deeper with each day that passed. But I was there, through every mask you wore and every brave face you constructed. I was right there. I heard the conversations you had with yourself in the quiet hours. I listened to the arguments your mind waged against your heart. I caught every tear that fell when you were finally alone enough to stop pretending. My precious child, you were never truly alone, not for 1 second. The isolation you experienced was real in the human dimension, but in the spiritual dimension, you were surrounded by my presence so completely that not even the thinnest shadow could separate us. I permitted the loneliness not to punish you, but to create a sacred space where only my voice could reach you, when every human connection had been stripped away, when there was no one left to lean on, no advisor to consult, no shoulder to cry on. That was when your spirit finally grew quiet enough to hear what I had been saying all along. The answers you were looking for were never in other people's opinions. They were never in the crowd's applause or the world's validation. They were in me, waiting patiently in the silence for you to turn your attention inward, where I had been dwelling the entire time. Every trial you endured had a specific and deliberate purpose in the architecture of your destiny. The loneliness taught you that my companionship is the only relationship that never wavers. The betrayal taught you that human promises are fragile, but my covenant is unbreakable. The confusion trained your spirit to navigate by faith rather than sight, to walk confidently into darkness, knowing that I am holding the lantern even when you cannot see the flame. The hopelessness pressed you so far beyond the limits of your own strength that you finally discovered the limitless strength that becomes available the moment you stop relying on yourself and surrender completely into my arms. You were not breaking. You were being rebuilt from the inside out. You were not losing your way. You were being redirected toward a destination so much greater than anything you had originally planned for yourself. Every closed door was my protection. Every delayed answer was my perfect timing. Every stripped away comfort was making room for a provision so abundant that it would have overwhelmed you if it had arrived before you were ready to carry it. Now lean in closely, my child, because what I am about to reveal is the centerpiece of everything I have been building toward in this conversation. This is the truth that the enemy has fought hardest to keep from reaching your ears, because he knows that once you receive it, once it penetrates the deepest layer of your spirit and takes root there, his power over your emotions will be permanently broken. Here is the revelation. The wilderness you walked through was never a punishment. Read that again in your spirit. Let it settle. Let it sink past every defensive wall you have constructed around your heart. Your suffering was not the consequence of some forgotten sin. Your pain was not heaven's correction for a mistake you made years ago. Your isolation was not God's way of teaching you a lesson through cruelty. None of that was ever true. If you believe deep in your spirit that this channel is being used by heaven to deliver words that heal and restore, then subscribe right now and become part of this ongoing divine conversation. These messages are not random uploads. They are strategic assignments from the throne room. And by subscribing, you position yourself to receive every word that heaven releases through this channel. Your wilderness, every excruciating moment of it, was preparation. It was the most intensive, personalized, custom-designed training program ever constructed for a single human spirit. God did not send you into the desert to abandon you there. He sent you into the desert because the desert is the only environment capable of producing the kind of strength, the kind of depth, the kind of unshakable foundation that you will need for what He is about to release into your life. Think about what a desert actually does. It strips away every unnecessary thing. It removes every distraction. It exposes every hidden weakness. It forces you to rely entirely on the provider rather than the provision. It teaches you to find water in places where no water should exist. To discover sustenance in soil that looks completely barren. To locate hope in landscapes that offer nothing but emptiness as far as the eye can see. That is what your wilderness accomplished in your spirit. It did not diminish you, it concentrated you. It burned away everything that was temporary, and left behind only what is eternal. And now, today, I am standing before you to make this official declaration from the throne room of the Most High. Your test is complete. You have passed. The refining fire has accomplished its full work in your spirit. The wilderness season that felt like it would never end has ended. Not tomorrow, not next month, not at some distant point in the uncertain future. It has ended today, right now, in this very moment. The gavel has fallen in heaven's court, and the verdict has been pronounced qualified, proven, approved, ready. Let this truth reshape every memory you carry from that season. The nights you thought were punishment were preparation. The tears you thought were weakness were refinement. The silence you interpreted as abandonment was actually the sound of heaven holding its breath in anticipation of what your completed transformation would produce. My child, you did not merely survive the wilderness, you graduated from it, and the diploma written across your spirit can never be revoked by any power on earth or beneath it. Now, hear me carefully as I begin to unfold the next chapter of your story, because what I am about to describe is not a distant hope or a theoretical possibility. It is an active operation already underway in the spiritual realm, and its effects are going to begin manifesting in your physical reality sooner than your natural mind can process. The atmosphere around your life is shifting right now. Even as these words reach your ears, heaven is rearranging spiritual conditions that have been locked in place for years. Blockages that have stood like concrete walls between you and your provision are crumbling at this very moment. Chains that were wrapped around your finances, your health, your relationships, your sense of purpose, are snapping off link by link as the authority of this revelation penetrates the unseen realm that governs your visible circumstances. Do you feel it? There is a tremor moving through the foundation of everything that has held you back. The ground beneath your obstacles is becoming unstable, and what has been stubbornly immovable is about to collapse under the weight of heaven's intervention on your behalf. This is not wishful thinking. This is a prophetic announcement of what the Almighty has already set into motion, and no force in existence has the authority to reverse what God has initiated. My child, doors are opening for you right now that were handcrafted by the Creator of the universe. These are not ordinary opportunities that come and go with the shifting tides of human circumstance. These are divine appointments, sovereign intersections designed before the foundation of the world, waiting for this exact moment in history to swing open and invite you through. No enemy can block these doors. No human opposition can barricade them. No generational curse can weld them shut. They were forged in heaven's workshop and sealed with the blood of the covenant, and they opened for one person only, and that person is you. You are going to receive keys in this season that you have never held before. Not physical keys made of metal or wood, but spiritual keys forged through your faithfulness, your obedience, and your unwavering trust during the darkest hours of your wilderness journey. These keys will grant you access to rooms you did not know existed. They will unlock opportunities that seemed permanently sealed against you. They will open corridors of provision that have been waiting behind locked gates for the exact moment when your spirit was mature enough to handle what lies on the other side. The miracles that are headed toward your life are not small adjustments or minor improvements. They are seismic shifts that will restructure the very landscape of your existence. Provision is coming from directions you never anticipated. Healing is arriving in areas you had written off as permanently damaged. Relationships that seemed irreparably broken are going to experience supernatural restoration that defies every logical explanation. And a sense of purpose so clear and overwhelming is going to settle over your spirit that you will wonder how you ever lived without it. Now listen to me with the sharpest spiritual attention you can summon, because what I am about to share is not for every ear. This is a restricted revelation, a classified transmission from the war room of heaven, intended exclusively for those who have proven their trustworthiness through suffering, through silence, and through steadfast refusal to abandon their faith when every rational argument told them to walk away. You were chosen to carry mysteries that the casual observer will never access. These are not riddles designed to confuse you. They are revelations engineered to transform you at the molecular level of your spirit. They are insights so powerful that they will open pathways you did not know existed, create solutions to problems you had accepted as permanent, and trigger breakthroughs so sudden and so complete that the people around you will have no explanation for what happened except to say that God Himself intervened. Type this declaration right now in the comments below and let it ring through the spiritual atmosphere like a trumpet. My wilderness is over. I have been declared ready by heaven itself. Do not whisper it. Declare it with the full weight of someone who has emerged from the fire carrying proof of their victory. The prophets of ancient times received these same kinds of mysteries. They were whispered into the spirits of men and women who had been tested, who had walked through fire, who had endured seasons of apparent abandonment, only to discover that God had been closer to them during those seasons than at any other time in their lives. You now join that lineage. You now stand in that same sacred tradition of tested vessels who receive what the untested cannot even perceive. My beloved child, the spiritual climate around your life has been undergoing a radical transformation. You may not have been able to see it with your natural eyes, but in the unseen realm the changes have been spectacular. Angels have been repositioned around your destiny. Assignments that were working against you have been canceled by heaven's direct order. The spiritual highways that connect you to your provision have been cleared of every obstacle and every ambush that the enemy had positioned along the route. My precious child, as this awakening takes permanent root in your spirit, know that every piece of light we share through this mission carries real weight in the spiritual realm. This is more than words on a screen. It is a lifeline, reaching into dark places where hurting souls are gasping for air. Through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you can support this work by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community. When you do, you step beyond being a listener and become a partner in a divine assignment, pulling lost and broken hearts out of the fog and into the arms of the Almighty. Every seed you plant through your generosity turns into light that pushes back against the darkness closing in on someone else's story. Heaven does not forget the hands that fuel its missions. What you release into this work, God will multiply back into your life in ways that will leave you breathless. What was once tightly shut against you is now standing wide open. What used to resist you at every turn is now giving way before you like water parting before the prow of a ship. The impossible situations that defined your recent history are actively losing their grip on your future. Can you sense it? There is a momentum building beneath the surface of your circumstances that is about to break through into the visible realm with unstoppable force. I am touching your health and commanding restoration to flow through every cell, every organ, every system in your body that has been under siege. Where disease has made its home, I am serving an eviction notice signed with the authority of the Almighty. Where chronic pain has become your unwanted companion, I am replacing it with vitality that will cause you to move through your days with energy you have not felt in years. Where mental exhaustion has clouded your thinking and stolen your focus, I am pouring clarity into your mind like fresh water into a dry vessel. I am touching your finances and breaking open channels of provision that have been sealed against you by forces you could not even identify. Resources that were diverted away from you by spiritual interference are being redirected back toward your life with accumulated interest. Opportunities for increase are being positioned along your path, and the wisdom to recognize and seize them is being deposited into your spirit at this very moment. You will not continue to live under the tyranny of lack. That season is finished. I am touching your relationships and performing surgery on connections that have been poisoned by misunderstanding, bitterness, and the enemy's manipulation. Where there has been division, I am sowing seeds of reconciliation. Where there has been silence between hearts that once beat in harmony, I am creating circumstances that will bring those hearts back into divine alignment. And where toxic connections have lingered past their expiration, I am giving you the strength and clarity to release them without guilt, knowing that what I am bringing to replace them will exceed anything you have experienced before. I am directing your destiny with precision that no human navigator could achieve. I am connecting you with the right people, positioning you in the right places, and opening the right doors at the right time. Every step you take from this moment forward is being guided by a wisdom that sees the end from the beginning. A wisdom that knows exactly which path leads to the fullness of the plan I designed for your life before you drew your first breath. But hear this warning clearly, my chosen child. The blessings I am releasing into your life will not make sense to everyone around you. Not every person who witnesses your elevation will celebrate it. Some will question the source of your sudden breakthrough. Some will feel threatened by the speed of your transformation. Others, driven by jealousy or their own unresolved pain, may actively attempt to undermine what God is doing in your life. This is why certain revelations must remain sealed in the vault of your heart until I give you permission to share them. Do not broadcast every miracle before it has fully matured. Do not expose every blessing to eyes that are not ready to handle the glory of what I have placed inside you. Guard this promise the way a skilled farmer guards a precious seed, planting it in protected soil, watering it with prayer, and trusting the process of hidden growth until the appointed time of harvest arrives. What I'm about to do in your life will speak louder than any announcement you can make. Your breakthrough will silence every critic, answer every doubter, and shut the mouth of every voice that ever told you that you were not enough. My precious child, I am now going to give you 4 divine instructions for this new season. These are not suggestions. They are not optional guidelines. They are spiritual keys that will determine how fully and how quickly you step into the abundance that heaven has already declared over your life. Treat them with the reverence they deserve, because obedience to these instructions is the mechanism that unlocks every promise I have made to you today. First, do not abandon prayer. I know there were seasons when prayer felt like speaking into an empty room. I know there were times when you questioned whether your words were reaching anywhere beyond the ceiling above your head. But prayer was always reaching me. Every syllable, every groan of your spirit that was too deep for words, every desperate whisper in the darkness, all of it landed directly before my throne. Now that you are entering a season of visible blessing, the temptation will be to relax your prayer life, to assume that because things are going well, you no longer need to commune with me as intensely as you did during the struggle. Resist that temptation with everything inside you. Prayer during abundance is even more critical than prayer during hardship, because it is in seasons of plenty that the enemy plants the most subtle and devastating traps. Make prayer the first act of every morning before the world has a chance to fill your mind with its noise. Make prayer the final conversation of every evening before sleep takes hold. Speak to me when the burdens come and when the celebrations arrive. Speak to me in the ordinary moments between, because it is in those quiet spaces that I reveal my deepest truths. Do not measure the power of your prayers by the eloquence of your words. Measure them by the sincerity of your heart. A single honest sentence spoken from a genuine place of surrender carries more weight in heaven than 1,000 polished phrases spoken from a place of performance. Second, trust me without reservation. Trust me when the timeline does not match your expectations. Trust me when the method I choose looks nothing like the plan you had constructed in your own mind. Trust me when delays stretch your patience to the breaking point. Because every delay is a precisely calibrated adjustment, ensuring that your blessing arrives at the exact moment when it will produce the maximum impact in your life. I am never late. I am never early. I am always precisely on schedule, operating from a timetable that accounts for variables your natural mind cannot even perceive. Do not let impatience drive you to open doors I have not opened. Do not let anxiety push you toward shortcuts that would compromise the quality of what I am building. The fullness of your blessing is worth the discipline of waiting for my timing. Third, release every drop of bitterness still clinging to the walls of your heart. I know the injuries were real. I know the pain inflicted by other people's choices left scars that still ache when the weather changes in your spirit. I witnessed every injustice. I recorded every unfair word, every broken promise, every act of cruelty disguised as indifference. But you cannot carry that bitterness into the new territory I am opening before you. Unforgiveness is a chain, and chains do not belong on the feet of someone who has been declared free by the court of heaven. Choose to forgive, not because the offender deserves your grace, but because you deserve to walk into your breakthrough with both hands open and ready to receive, rather than clenched around old wounds that have already served their purpose. Fourth, walk in complete obedience to my voice. When I speak a directive into your spirit, even if it seems too large or too illogical or too far beyond your current capacity, step forward immediately. Delayed obedience is a form of disobedience disguised in reasonable clothing. When I tell you to move, move. When I tell you to wait, wait. When I tell you to release something you have been gripping tightly, open your hands and let it go without looking back. Every act of obedience is a key that opens the next door in the corridor of your destiny. Disobedience closes doors that were already standing open. But obedience, swift and wholehearted and trusting, will accelerate your journey toward the fulfillment of every promise I have spoken over your life. If you feel a warmth spreading through your chest right now, if your eyes are becoming moist with tears you did not plan to shed, do not fight that response. What you are experiencing is the direct touch of the Holy Spirit, confirming that every word spoken over your life in this message is absolute truth. That physical response is the spiritual realm manifesting in your natural body. It is proof, undeniable proof, that you are connected to something far bigger than words on a screen. My child, the enemy will try to weaponize fear against you in this season. He will whisper that you are not prepared for the magnitude of what is coming. He will remind you of every failure, every stumble, every moment of weakness from your past, and he will use them as evidence that you are disqualified from receiving what heaven has declared over you. When those whispers come, and they will come, speak my promises out loud over your life. Declare your identity as a chosen child of the Most High. Recite the truth that you have been forgiven, cleansed, qualified, and equipped by the same power that raised the dead and split the seas. The enemy cannot stand against spoken truth. His lies dissolve like shadows in the presence of light. And your voice carrying my word is that light. Walk with discernment in this season. Not every smile directed toward you comes from a place of genuine celebration. Not every person who applauds your progress has your best interests at heart. Guard the sacred things I have placed in your spirit, especially the specific details of the breakthroughs I am orchestrating. Share your testimony when I give you the signal, not before. Premature exposure of a blessing can attract interference that delays its full manifestation. Be wise. Be watchful. Be generous with your love, but strategic with your trust. Do not compare your journey to the journey of anyone else walking beside you. Their path was designed for their spirit. Your path was designed for yours. The timelines are different because the destinations are different. The obstacles are different because the lessons are different. The speed of progress is different because the depth of preparation is different. Comparison is the thief that robs a masterpiece of its unique beauty by measuring it against a painting that was created from an entirely different palette. Honor the uniqueness of your calling. It cannot be duplicated. It cannot be reassigned. It cannot be diminished by another person's success. And it cannot be accelerated by envying their progress. Stay alert. The enemy rarely announces himself with obvious threats. He arrives wearing the mask of reasonable compromise. He presents distractions that look productive. He offers shortcuts that seem efficient. He introduces people who appear helpful, but carry assignments of derailment. Keep your spiritual radar active at all times. Pray as you walk. Trust as you breathe. Forgive as you move forward. Obey without delay. This is how you will navigate the new terrain with precision and avoid the traps that have been set along the edges of your blessing. Now hear the final decree that I, Archangel Michael, am authorized to pronounce over your life today by direct commission from the throne of the Almighty God. This is the most authoritative declaration in this entire message, and every word of it carries the full backing of heaven's unlimited power. You are chosen, not by accident, not by human selection, not by circumstantial fortune. You are chosen by the eternal decision of a God who saw every moment of your life from beginning to end and declared, that one will carry my glory. That one will walk in my authority. That one will demonstrate to the watching world what happens when an ordinary human being allows themselves to be completely surrendered to the extraordinary purposes of an infinite God. Your wilderness has ended. Your preparation is complete. The seal that was placed upon your spirit during the most difficult season of your life has now been activated, and its power is about to manifest in every dimension of your existence. Your health will reflect it. Your finances will demonstrate it. Your relationships will display it. Your purpose will radiate with it. The same God who held you together when everything was falling apart is now assembling the greatest season of abundance, influence, and supernatural favor you have ever experienced. The enemy's assignment against you has been permanently canceled. The chains of generational limitation have been shattered beyond repair. The walls that blocked your progress have been reduced to rubble. The rivers of blessing that were diverted away from your life have been restored to their original course, flowing directly toward you with the accumulated force of every season they were held back. No power in heaven, on earth, or beneath the earth has the authority to reverse what the Almighty has decreed over your life today. No human opposition can delay it. No demonic scheme can derail it. No personal weakness can disqualify you from it, because this blessing is not based on your perfection. It is based on His faithfulness, and His faithfulness has never failed, not once, in the entire history of creation. Move forward now, my beloved child. Do not retreat into the familiarity of your old pain. Do not linger at the threshold of your blessing, questioning whether you truly deserve to cross it. Do not look backward at the wreckage of seasons that have already served their purpose. Walk through those open doors with your head lifted high, your heart wide open, and your spirit ablaze with the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing, deep in your bones, that the God of the universe has spoken your name and called you victorious. My child, before we enter the closing moments of this sacred encounter, let us gather everything heaven has spoken over your spirit today. You were witnessed in your suffering. You were present in your wilderness. You were tested and you passed. You were prepared for a purpose that exceeds anything your natural mind can calculate. You have been declared ready. Doors are opening. Keys have been placed in your hands. Miracles are en route, and the final decree of heaven over your life cannot be reversed by any force in existence. If you want to ensure that no future message from this divine conversation ever passes you by, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on notifications. This is not about a single encounter. It is about remaining positioned in the path of every word heaven releases through this channel. Secure that connection today. Now, if this message has touched the deepest places of your heart, if these words have brought healing to wounds you stopped believing could ever be healed, then you must share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Think of at least 4 people in your life who are still trapped in their own wilderness, still believing the lie that they have been forgotten, still carrying the weight of unanswered prayers alone. Send this message to them right now. Share it in your WhatsApp group. Text it directly to someone whose name just flashed across your mind. Post it in your Facebook group where hurting hearts gather. Be the messenger that carries this divine word from your screen into the life of someone who is one revelation away from their own breakthrough. My beloved child, everything you have heard today was delivered to your spirit through a mission that runs on prayer and the faithful generosity of people exactly like you. If this word has ministered to your heart, if you feel moved to ensure that this work continues reaching souls across the earth, I invite you to visit the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether you choose to buy a coffee as a simple act of partnership, make a donation to fuel the next message that heaven assigns, or become a full member of our community where daily prayers rise and believers lift one another in faith, your contribution becomes part of something eternal. You are not giving to a screen. You are investing into a global altar of worship where every seed planted multiplies into light, hope, and divine rescue for someone standing at the edge of their darkest hour. Step in today, join the circle, and watch as heaven honors the hand that chose to give when the Spirit moved. And now, let us close with prayer. Almighty God, Father of all mercy and Lord of every promise spoken in this message, I bring this precious child before your throne, and I ask you to seal every word that was declared over their life today. Let the revelation they receive take permanent root in the deepest soil of their spirit, where no storm can uproot it and no enemy can steal it. Cover them with your supernatural protection as they step forward into the new season you have prepared. Guard their mind from the lies of the adversary. Strengthen their body with divine vitality. Open the floodgates of provision over their finances. Restore every broken relationship that you have destined for healing. Guide every step they take with the precision of your infinite wisdom, and let them feel your presence. Not just know it intellectually, but experience it in the marrow of their bones, so that they never again question whether you are near. I seal this prayer with the authority entrusted to me by the Most High, and I declare that it is done, accomplished, ratified in the courts of heaven, effective from this moment forward into eternity. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, amen.